Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste that says Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. And by Nestle's, makers of the world-famous Nestle's Crunch Bar.
Hi, welcome to the Tom Trebelhorn Report. On my show, you'll get an inside look at baseball today. I'll introduce you to prominent players and coaches around the league who have some interesting views about the game. This is our segment, Player to Player. In Around the Majors, we'll check in with top stars from both leagues. I'll introduce you to prominent players from places like New York, Minnesota, and Boston. On Like a Pro, you'll get tips from the best in the business on hitting, fielding, base running, and pitching. On the road to the big leagues, you'll meet an athlete struggling to make it to the majors. Finally, I'll take you behind the scenes on our segment, The Inside Story. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the Tom Trebelhorn Report. Coming up on Player to Player, my guest will be Len Barker, right-handed pitcher of the Milwaukee Brewers. Please stay tuned. Barker, right-handed pitcher of the Milwaukee Brewers. And Len, back in 1981, you threw a perfect game for the Cleveland Indians. What did it feel like to throw a perfect game?
It's, I'll tell you what, it's the most exciting game in my career in baseball. I was walking out there in the 8th inning, picked the ball up, dropped it, and rolled down the hill, and I had to pick it up. I had a hard time getting it off the ground, but it was really exciting, and the guy that caught the last out in the game is Rick Manning, teammate now.
It's interesting how this game turns around. As Len says, the same guy who caught that last out now plays outfield for the same team that Len pitches for. That's the Milwaukee Brewers. Lenny, you had an unfortunate elbow injury that sidelined you for a while. Exactly what happened, and what were some of the things that they did to repair that injury?
Well, I had a bone spur and a couple chips that were floating around in my elbow that had been there since high school, and then all of a sudden it started bothering me to the point where I couldn't throw anymore. So they went in there and they took the spur out, cleared the chips out, and transplanted the ulnar nerve, and anything else they could find in there, they took it out too. And it's taken me about 2 years to get back to where I used to be.
During the 2-year rehab with your elbow, how were you changed as a pitcher?
It's made me a better pitcher because now I use my changeup and my curveball a lot more. I can't throw the ball, the fastball, by the hitters the way I used to. And if I tried to do that now, which you saw in Cleveland the other day when I pitched there, I tried to blow it by the guys, and I was up in the strike zone, and those guys were hitting me. And the last game I pitched instead of throw. And the injury, that's what's helped me, is to use my changeup and my curveball a lot more.
How important is it to Len Barker personally to make that 2-year-long trip and to get back here to return to the major leagues?
Well, it means a lot to me because it even means more to me when I first got into the major leagues, because I'm coming back from 2 injuries, my arm and my knee, and I've thought about quitting, and then I had my wife behind me all the time telling me, you know, you're going to regret it if you do quit now, because my arm never hurt after I had surgery. I mean, it was a matter of one day I throw hard, and the next day I throw 80 miles an hour. So I decided to keep building it up, and it probably means a lot to me to be back in the major leagues right now than almost anything in my career, even pitching a perfect game, because I've had to go through so much the last 2 years.
Lenny, you've pitched in both the National and the American League. What are some of the differences you've found between the 2 leagues?
Well, I think in the National League, you got mainly a lot of the pitchers over there are fastball pitchers, and over in the American League, they throw a lot of changeups and curveballs, especially when they're behind. Over there, most of the guys are power pitchers, and the hitters, I feel, are the same. You know, you got good hitters over there and you got good hitters over here, and everybody talks about the umpiring too. Each umpire is different, as you know. They have different strike zones. Sometimes the strike zones change every game, but basically they're all about the same.
Lenny, while pitching in the National League, what was your favorite ballpark?
My favorite park to pitch in was probably Atlanta. I liked it there. Even though we had a short porch in left field, I had some good games there, and I enjoyed pitching there. We had some good crowds all the time, and it was a good mound for me, and I enjoyed pitching.
How about your favorite ballpark in the American League?
My favorite park there was probably Anaheim. It was just such a beautiful park, and it was always a thrill to go out there because there was always a lot of people in the stands, and it was kind of like a Hollywood atmosphere, but it was different than from Los Angeles, where it's all Hollywood there. And it's just a beautiful spot to pitch in, and I had a lot of success there.
Now, in your pitching career, of course, facing hitters from both leagues, who has been the toughest hitter for you to get out, or even just the toughest hitter to face, maybe? Maybe you haven't gotten him out. Who's the toughest guy you faced?
No doubt, Rod Carew was the toughest guy I ever faced. He, for some reason, I don't know, one time I remember 2 games I pitched against the Angels, he went 4 for 4 and 4 for 4 back-to-back games, and I had tough times with him before. It didn't matter what pitch I threw him. I'd throw him a changeup in the dirt, and he'd hit it to left field, a little blooper, or I'd throw him curveballs, change up everything on him. He'd always hit me for some reason.
Lenny, as a developing young man and becoming a player, are there any one person or player who you looked up to or really idolized, who really made an impact on your career?
Well, I grew up in outside the Philadelphia area, and I watched the Phillies, but we used to get the Yankee games on all the time, and I used to watch Mickey Mantle. I'm sure, you know, a lot of kids growing up watched him, and when I was growing up, I also played the outfield, and I always envisioned myself as hitting 50 or 60 home runs in the major leagues, and I watched him. He was no doubt the idol that I always watched all the time.
And how do you figure you could have got the Mick out if you pitched against him?
I would have thrown him a lot of change-ups and thrown him away.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us here today, Len. I think it's an insight into pitching in 2 different leagues and also coming back from a very severe injury. And I think it's just credit to anyone who can do that, and we're glad to have you at the Milwaukee Brewers.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here, that's for sure.
Thanks again to Len Barker, who's been our guest today. Today on our feature, Like a Pro, we will have Mookie Wilson of the New York Mets with a segment on base running.
Hey kids, look what I got from Delicious Cookies. Elliot the Milk and Cookie Bear.
You too can win an Elliot. Just send your name, address, and phone number to Elliot the Milk and Cookie Bear, WVTV Super 18, Box 16676, Milwaukee 53216. Each week, you'll have a good chance of winning a 3-foot Elliot or one of 20 smaller Elliots.
So send in your entries today and give Elliot a home.
You'll find delicious cookies at your favorite store.
It's our gorgeous oak sale at Sun Valley Waterbeds. Right now, get the year's lowest prices on all oak bedroom furniture, up to 40% off. Complete oak waterbeds for only $188. Save $300 on this handsome oak wall system with bed, now just $599. And our Sweden oak beds are best buy at $288. Or take home all of this beautiful furniture for less than $38 a month. Gorgeous oak. Yours at the absolute lowest prices of the year. Right now at Sun Valley Waterbeds.
Scrumptious when it crunches. That's why I love Nestle Crunch. Milk chocolate, that's creamy. Blending Krispies, ooh, so dreamy. Scrumptious. Chocolate is scrumptious when it crunches. That's why I love Nestle Crunch.
And look for Nestle Crunch ice cream bars. They're scrumptious, too.
Strength, pride, tradition. For centuries, the Clydesdale has been known as a special breed. Today, the Clydesdales symbolize Budweiser's dedication to quality, superior ingredients, exclusive beechwood aging, and a distinctively clean, crisp taste that only Budweiser can offer. Quality taste. Because this Bud's for you.
Today's tip is on base running. Base running is such a broad subject, but I'm going to tell you a few things that probably will help your game. I'm going to start with the lead off first base. As we know, doing baseball, the most important thing is being comfortable, and the lead is probably going to be the most important thing in base running. A comfortable lead is a lead that you can get, knowing that you can get back to first without being picked off. Your lead will vary depending on the person, your quickness, and height. A good position to start would be approximately 3 steps. Now, 3 steps is a step sideways. 1, 2, 3. Starting here, it's a good position for anyone to start. And now you adjust yourself going farther, one way or the other, depending on your ability to get back. Now, after you're getting your steps off from first base, the next thing you want to be most conscious of is how wide your feet are going to be apart. I suggest that your feet are at least shoulder width apart. We're starting there. Now, this, again, will vary depending on the person, your height, and your center of gravity. The reason why you should be stable is for you to give you the mobility to go either way as smoothly as possible. You know, notice how my feet will pivot. If you're too wide apart, there is not going to be a pivot. It's going to be more of a stretch. And this is where you're going to lose important time. Another thing about the distance of your feet being apart is that when your feet are in a comfortable position and shoulder width apart in that pivot, you now become more of a track runner. You notice that most track runners, for the running, they're down in this position, and this is what you want to get. You don't ever want to be here where now your first move is going to be here and a step. Now you're pulling instead of pushing. Driving is the most important thing in stealing your bases, which means that in you driving, your first 2 steps are going to determine whether you steal the base or not. Now, here's an example of what you're going to see if you're in the proper form. The proper form is going to be here, not too low. If you get too low, now your move is going to be here. You want to be approximately here, so your first move is going to be here. And you're going to be driving, both feet are pivoting at the same time. Now, don't be alarmed if it's very uncomfortable at first, because base running is just like hitting. It takes practice. Practice makes perfect, and no 2 people are the same. Someone's lead might be a little farther, someone's lead might be a little closer. Someone's feet may be a little wide apart, some may be a little closer. That will vary. Do not be concerned about that now. The most important thing about it is be comfortable and practice. Work on this technique. It will save you at least 2.5 steps, guaranteed. The key to successful base running is being comfortable. And the lead off first is one reason, way more of being comfortable. The feet positioning is another way of being comfortable. Being comfortable will help you, improve your game. That way you have the momentum or the confidence of getting back or progressing to the next base. Comfort is the most important part of base running.
Coming up next on Around the Major Leagues, we'll check in with Minnesota Twins outfielder Kirby Puckett and his guest, right-handed pitcher Bert Blyleven. Please stay tuned. Puckett of the Minnesota Twins.
Hi, today's guest is Bert Blyleven. Bert, thanks for being on the show today, Bert.
Well, thanks for asking me, Puck.
Bert, you being the only player from Holland, I mean, not many ball players from Holland. Tell us a little bit about that, being from Holland and how you grew up and things like that.
Well, Puck, I was born in Holland in 1951. Makes me 34 years old. And I came over. My parents were born and raised in Holland. They had 3 children in Holland, 2 in Canada and 2 in the United States. After the war in the 40s, they decided that they wanted a little better life for their kids, so they just picked up and moved to Canada, because at that time it was easier to get into the United States through Canada than it was directly from Europe. So we spent 3 years in Canada and then came over to the United States.
Let's talk a little bit about this curveball of yours, Bert. You have one of the best curveballs in the game, and tell us, how do you use that in different situations?
Well, first of all, Puck, I think a lot of my curveball and my success I contribute to my father. When he came over from Holland, he became a great Dodger fan, and he watched Koufax and Drysdale, and he remembered one interview with Koufax about his curveball. Sandy Koufax had a great curveball. And he suggested to the young kids not to throw that curveball till they're about 13, 14, 15 years old. And I started Little League really late. I started Little League at 11 because coming from Holland and having parents that were really, all we did was speak Dutch, we really didn't get involved, say, in the community. And finally, when we moved to Orange County, California, my friends that I
got to be around there were sports-minded. So I kind of followed them into the Little League program. And from that, and my father being a great Dodger fan, and then him coming out and watching me play baseball, I finally got the knack of being able to throw the ball pretty good. And he always remembered that interview, that don't throw a curveball till you're 14 years old, and he wouldn't allow me to throw a curveball. So what I did is I started in high school as a big roundhouse curve, and then my catcher and I worked on what we call a drop in high school, over the top drop. And I was always blessed to be able to throw it for control, and I just went from there.
This is your second stint with the Twins, Bert. Tell us how you've seen the game change as far as playing from a guy like Calvin Griffin and now coming over playing for a guy like Carl Polat and being with different teams and, winning the World Championship, and, with the Pirates. I mean, tell us a little bit about that stint.
Well, I've really had a nice career. This is my 18th year, Puck. I've been able to play on a World Series team. I would love to play on another one here in Minnesota, but the game has changed really dramatically as far as Minnesota's concerned because of the stadium. I remember the old Met. I used to love pitching out there. This is a different type of ballpark. Balls fly out of here. As a pitcher, you just try to keep your club in a game. And we've got a good offensive ball club, so my job is to keep the club in a game. But overall, the salary structure has definitely changed in baseball. When I came up, it was $10,000. Now it's $60,000. But then also the cost of food has tripled and quadrupled too. So I think we're in a field that it becomes a supply and demand. There aren't too many ball players out there that can play for a long period of time. And I feel that we are an elect group. Sure. And whatever we can make out of it financially, I think it just shows that there's a lot of people out there that I would have to say are jealous because, ball players make a lot of money. But the good Lord gave me the ability to play baseball, and I've got to make the best out of it.
Well, sure. I mean, a lot of people don't understand is that when you get drafted, by somebody, if you're not, if they don't intend to send you to the big leagues right away, you have to play in the minor leagues. And in the minor leagues, people don't understand it's not a lot of fun. I know when I signed in '82, I was making $600 a month. And by the time Uncle Sam took his money out and everything, I was only getting like $250, bring home $250, and then you got to pay bills.
Never make it.
Well, you get some guys that be down there and never make it, like you said, but it's only, a certain amount of guys that I know I put all my heart in it, I know you put all your heart in it, and just, the Lord just blessed us in certain ways. Bert, tell us a little bit about this park. I mean, you mentioned this park. Is this a tough park to pitch in? Do you try to pitch differently here than you do, when you go to somewhere like Anaheim where it's all grass field? Do you pitch different, or do you just pitch the same way regardless of where you are?
I think I've always tried to pitch the same in every ballpark. There are different times that I go out in the bullpen to warm up that I will know if I have a good fastball that day, or I will know if my curveball is maybe breaking. I pitched a game, just last night against Boston. I don't think I had a good curveball till later in the game. So what I try to do is just adjust to the stuff that I have that day.
So you don't get away from your game plan. Whatever's working for you, that's what you use.
Well, I've always been a believer, Puck, that I think the hardest pitch for a hitter to hit is a good fastball down and away. And that's the only thing I try to really establish in the bullpen is a good fastball down and away to a left-hander and a right-hander. The curveball, the changeup, hopefully I can work on that during the game. But if I can't get ahead of the hitters with my fastball, then I'm in trouble.
Well, okay, Bert. Well, thanks for being on the show for me, Bert. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks a lot, huh?
I just want to know one thing, Kirby.
What do you want to know?
How come you get the high chair and I have to sit on this low chair?
It's not that my chair is higher than yours. It's just I got a bigger derriere than you have, Bert, so it makes me sit up higher.
Okay, Buck.
Okay, thanks, Bert.
Coming up next on the road to the big leagues, we'll meet minor league manager John Wackenfuss, who's working hard to make it to the big leagues. Please stay tuned. Minor league manager John Wackenfuss.
38-year-old John Wackenfuss stands inside the third base coach's box in Fort Myers, Florida. He goes through the physical ritual of orchestrating batter and base runner, hoping that players half his age will have picked up his instructions, will execute them properly, and as a result, his Lakeland Tiger team will score another run. As a first-year manager in the Tigers farm system, Wackenfuss is in a sense starting over. Although hardly a household name, Wackenfuss was known as a dependable player, whether behind the plate or at first base during his 10 years with Detroit and Philadelphia. Following an aborted comeback in 1986, The Tigers offered Walkenfuss the single-A skippership, and without hesitation, he took it.
I only had a high school education. Baseball's been my whole life. Ever since I was 5 years old, I told my dad, I said, I want to be a big league ball player. And I have accomplished that. And through the years of playing, I've always felt that I wanted to be, big league manager once I got out of baseball. I was hoping to play a little bit longer until I was in my 40s. I thought I could, but it didn't work out that way. So my next goal is to become a major league manager, and that's why I'm here to learn. And I played for, Ralph Houck, Sparky Anderson, two great managers, and I hope some of that will rub off.
While Anderson and Houck will serve as managerial role models, Walkenfuss brings his own unique experience to the minor leagues. Starting in 1967, Walkenfuss spent 8 years in places like Geneva, Burlington, Shelby, Pittsfield, Evansville, and Tulsa, before he even made it to the majors. During those stops, Walkenfuss was learning how to be a big league player, but he was also storing away some valuable teaching tips. Now he's taking them out of storage to help his youngsters and impress his employer.
So, of course, at this stage of the game, it's a business now. You have to produce. You don't want to perform in a losing way. You want to build a winning attitude, help these kids to progress through that, because they do have money invested in them, and they want to see that pay off. And we have to try to teach these guys what it takes, to get to the big leagues. Try to cut down on your mistakes. The team rarely beats you. You usually beat yourself. And we have to teach them that, what it takes to win, teach them fundamentals of baseball, how to act as a professional. And, that's what we're here for, to try to teach them, to try to get them up to the big leagues.
One might imagine that it would be hard for this West Virginia native to return to minor league life after enjoying the big league benefits. First, there was the dramatic cut in pay, and then the switch from private jets to 8-hour bus rides.
I don't put too much stock in money or long bus rides. You have to do what you have to do. I was never fond of flying anyhow, to be honest with you. So if a few bus rides between now and then is not going to hurt me to calm my nerves. I mean, I didn't get this gray hair for nothing. But you have to pay your dues. And taking the big pay cut, like I said earlier, I could live in a barn out in the woods somewhere. That doesn't bother me.
What does bother Walkenfuss these days is when his Tigers lose a game. There are times during an inning when the ex-catcher would like to grab a bat and help out the cause. But Walkenfuss knows the future on the field is reserved for the young, and that his future depends on his knowledge of the game. After 19 years of organized baseball, Walkenfuss says he's happy to be where he is. But looking down the road 4 or 5 years from now, this rookie manager is hoping to fulfill a lifelong dream.
I just missed out in '84. There was a week left in the spring training, and I was traded to Philadelphia. And then, of course, Detroit went on to win the World Championship. And that's something everybody dreams about. And I guess as of right now, when I get to the big leagues, because I'm a very positive person, I believe truly down deep that I will get there. And, of course, managing a World Championship team or being a part of it as a coach or a manager is something that every coach down here foresees and hopes that'll come true. It's just like when you're a minor league player. You can't wait till you get that first day in the big leagues, and then once you get there, hopefully winning a World Championship. And I think as a manager now, that'd be my dream.
On the road to the big leagues, this is Ben Bensinger reporting.
Thanks for watching this week's show, and remember, you can catch all the Brewer action live on WVTV and the entire Brewer Network. See you next week.